When the flaws in the laws set to protect us all are revealed, there's only two options: stay broken or begin to heal.
We run into obstacles every day that's not talked about. So just walking to the store, getting you something to eat is dead.
I just want justice. I want murder charges. I want that man in jail. He shouldn't, I can't hug my son ever again.
And we know healing can be just as hard as being broken. Just ask Breonna Taylor's mother, who continues to fight with wounds still wide open.
None of us are happy because no matter what happens, both in the indictment, but also in the ultimate trial, none of it is going to bring Casey back.
But healing isn't just a trendy hashtag with blue likes and red hearts. It's actions leading to real change. Yes, removing statues is a start. Are you ready for your part?
To seek the justice and that we need as a community, that we can support our police and demand change and reform at the same time.
Are you ready to have the real conversations?
We have to have those conversations, but in the end, what's in the best interest of our students?
The ones that will make you uncomfortable and accountable, but perhaps change this nation?
One year after a deadly shooting by law enforcement here in Columbus, family members of Casey Goodson Jr. now say they are one step closer to justice. Welcome to The Conversation. I'm Matt Barnes.
I'm Kerry Charles.
And I'm Alan Henry. December 4th marked 1 year since Goodson's death. A former Franklin County deputy shot him 6 times.
That now former deputy continues to claim Goodson pointed a gun at him and did not follow instructions to drop the weapon. Goodson's family says he was coming home from the dentist with sandwiches, his keys in the door. Jason Meade now faces multiple charges, 2 counts of murder, 1 count of reckless homicide.
Goodson, a 23-year-old black man, was shot and killed by former Franklin County Sheriff's Deputy Jason Meade exactly 1 year ago today.
Hey, we're celebrating his life, not the day that he passed.
Former Franklin County Deputy Jason Meade has been charged with murder. Goodson's family now has filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Franklin County and Meade.
363 days later, after your son was shot and killed, you learned of these charges. What are your thoughts?
It was worth it. To see the charges that came about, the days were torturous, but it was worth it. I think we all know that Casey's special. Casey's making history. You know, Casey's going to be the change in Columbus. Casey's going to be the change across our nation. My baby is already making history.
My grandson just got shot in the back when he came in the house, and I don't know if he's okay because there's 2 out there.
I'm sorry, what just happened?
My grandson just got shot.
Okay, where did this happen?
At my house. He lives there with me.
The shooting happened December 4th, 2020, near Ferris Road and Estates Place in North Columbus. That day, investigators told reporters a U.S. Marshals task force went to the area in search of a suspect, not Goodson. However, they said Goodson drove past them and waved a gun. We learned Meade followed Goodson and said the 23-year-old pointed a gun at him. That's when Meade shot Goodson multiple times.
My whole everyday purpose is to fight for justice, because as Sean said, Casey wasn't murdered, he was executed.
The official autopsy report by Franklin County Coroner Dr. Anahi Ortiz, dated March 17th, confirmed what we reported a month earlier. Goodson was shot 6 times, 5 in the back, once in the buttocks. Cause of death, gunshot wounds of the torso. Manner of death, homicide.
He was maybe at that point 15 to 20 feet away screaming, "Show me your hands, show me your hands, show me your hands." At one point, Mr. Goodson's left hand was trying to get into the door. At one point, his shoulders went down, my client indicated. My client thought he was going to comply and then turn around and do that. But as he turned around, the gun was raised towards my client and pointed at my client, giving him no other option.
One day after the grand jury indictment became public and when his attorney defended his actions, the former deputy, who took disability retirement in July, appeared for an arraignment.
Make your appearance, call your first case, please.
Bond set at $250,000. Hours later, Meade posted bail.
If people knew Casey like everybody else did, that's so unfair. I don't understand. I thought the justice system was supposed to work.
Tamala Payne's attorney says 9 family members were in the house at the time and saw the immediate aftermath of the shooting. Among those relatives, Goodson's grandmother, a 10, 5, 4, and a 3-year-old. Meade's next court appearance has not been set.
Columbus City Council announced a new program named after Goodson. It's called Pathways to Purpose, Casey Goodson Jr.'s CDL program, and it helps people obtain their commercial driver's licenses. The city will invest $200,000 in it and partner with other agencies, including the Capital Transportation Academy's Roads to Work program, which helps people go from earning minimum wage to over $50,000 a year. Council members told us that even though the legal sides of the cases are still underway, it was important to make this a big deal.
Oftentimes when you hear young black men who have been killed at the hands of law enforcement, you get a few hashtags, a few days, and then we lose sight of who and what they are. I don't want people to lose sight of who Mr. Goodson was. He was a good son. He was a great man, and he had dreams, and those dreams were not realized. But we're turning this pain into purpose, and that's what this program is about today.
The Fraternal Order of Police say they applauded the effort to enact this program, but said the way council members announced the plan was a, quote, reflexive attack on the police, dividing instead of uniting.
This month also marks 1 year since another deadly officer-involved shooting here in Columbus, leaving another family waiting for justice. Andre Hill was shot and killed the morning of December 22nd by former Columbus police officer Adam Coy. Coy was sent to a home on Oberlin Drive on a report of a suspicious vehicle. There, he found Hill walking out of a garage where he was a guest. Coy said he saw a gun and fired 4 times at Hill. That gun was actually a phone. Hill laid on the ground and did not receive medical attention until medics arrived. He died at a nearby hospital. Coy failed to turn on his body camera to capture the entire incident. He was fired from the police force and charged with murder and reckless homicide. And you might remember this shocking video used in a federal civil rights lawsuit filed against Columbus police. We learned today the city will pay $5.75 million to the plaintiffs in that lawsuit, who said they were peacefully protesting during Black Lives Matter marches last year when police used chemical weapons, rammed them with bicycles, and in one case shoved a woman to the ground, breaking her leg. A settlement was reached with attorneys for Columbus, but it must be approved by City Council. A temporary injunction that bars police from the illegal behavior will now become permanent.
This week was the start of the trial for Kim Potter, the former Minneapolis area police officer who shot and killed Dante Wright. Wright was pulled over for having expired tags on April 11th. Potter's attorneys say she accidentally mistook her gun for a taser before firing a deadly shot. Wright's family and civil rights lawyers say they don't believe it was an accident, pointing out that Potter had 26 years of experience and trained other officers. She faces manslaughter charges and is expected to take the stand in her own defense during the trial.
Property that's likely worth millions of dollars was returned to a California family this fall. The city of Manhattan Beach stole it in the 1920s. The land sat empty for almost 3 decades. Bruce's Beach, a safe haven for blacks to escape violence and harassment by whites, was seized through eminent domain. Where is My Land, which helps black families get their land back or secure restitution, helped to lead this effort.
Power comes with the money. And so when those things are stolen from a group of people, then it is set up so that those people are always asking the superior people, which is white people, for opportunities, for funds, for just access to things that they were born with.
You have to be hearing from every corner of the state and in between.
I knew that the Bruce family could not be the only family, the only descendants of a black family who once owned land that had been unjustly stolen. And we know that, we just know that's not the case.
Watch my full conversation with Kavan and Ashanti on NBC4i.com/The Conversation. And we should mention Where's My Land is working on a case in Cleveland.
It is a book about film, history, and civil rights. Columbus native Will Haygood's latest novel covers a century of black films in America, from notoriously racist movies that premiered during the First World War to modern-day blockbusters. Our Jonathan Jackson spoke with the author about why he wanted to share those stories.
The book is called Colorization, 100 Years of Black Films in a White World. And the author, Will Haygood, gives readers an insightful look at black artists both in front and behind the camera. From his early days growing up in the north side of Columbus, Will Haygood often remembers going to the cinema.
I grew up
in Columbus, and my mother allowed me to go to the Garden Theater on North High Street every Sunday.
Seeing some of the most famous actors throughout history on screen, yet never seeing himself.
I never, as a kid at the Garden Theater, saw a black face on screen.
That feeling is something that stuck with Haygood over the years, even when he left Ohio to pursue a career in journalism.
I'm Cecil Gaines. I'm the new butler.
Until one day he wrote an article for the Washington Post called A Butler, Well Served by This Election, which received critical acclaim and was even turned into a feature film.
I know how to serve.
Which only further inspired Haygood to write stories about black history, including this novel titled Colorization, 100 Years of Black Films in a White World.
It is about their hard journey to be major players in mainstream filmmaking. And it stretches, 20s, 30s, to 40s, to 60s, right up to where we are in the country right now.
Haygood says the novel shines a light on the racism in cinema, from the discrimination faced by early black actors like Sidney Poitier to the blaxploitation films of the 70s, while also covering the progress made up until today, with the release of all-black superhero films like Black Panther and the social movement to nominate more actors and directors of color for the Academy Awards.
To write about Hollywood and how Hollywood inhibited so many black filmmakers, and then how so many filmmakers were able to rise above that, I think is really a fascinating drama.
Black Male or Brothers, Orientation to Leadership Development, Bold Brothers, strives to build a foundation that helps young boys and college-aged men achieve success. One way it does this is by recognizing the efforts of young participants who earn at least a 3.0 GPA. These are young, bold brothers, honor students at Columbus City Preparatory School for Boys.
My parents always taught me that in life, people will treat you the way you portray yourself.
Football is my favorite sport, so I want to be a football player.
Right now, I'm thinking as a teacher, just so I can start off helping out other kids.
What's Bold Brothers?
Bold Brothers is a program for self-development, self-leadership with a focus on black and brown boys. So we can have some conversations around race and the conversations about the difference in perceptions of young men.
Participants who make honor roll, like these young men, receive cash rewards.
And it basically just encourages students to do more and to have some sense of reward after they get on a roll.
Why is that needed here in Columbus, maybe now more than ever before?
It's important that we teach them to work collectively together to help bring about change.
The message is resonating.
They inspire you to keep going with the money and everything.
Being in school and getting smarter helps you throughout your life.
All right, so students who get between a 3.0 and a 3.49 GPA, they get $5. 3.5 to 3.99, $10. A 4.0 or above, $20. Students who remain on honor roll and help classmates achieve honor roll can actually double their money. College students, they help to mentor younger participants. The program, it is now in 2 area schools. And we aren't talking about a lot of money here,
no, not at all.
But it's that energy that these young men, these young boys are participating in, and they are setting this idea and getting it early of being on top of your academics and helping others.
And that's what I love most, the helping others, paying it forward.
Yeah.
You have the college students helping the younger students then as they grow older, they want to help out as well. And I mean, this is a great example to set for even the younger students that aren't in the program at all. That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, and just that there's the opportunity, that space to interact with grown men and college students, and to be able to talk about different issues that can be sensitive.
Yeah, definitely in the real world, you get incentives to do well at work, and in college there's scholarships and things like that. So it's showing them that when you're younger, there are incentives to success and to work hard. There are sometimes rewards and prizes for that.
Yeah, and they get it. They get it. They understand it.
And only 2 schools. I want that in every school, frankly.
Yeah. They're working on it.
I know,
They're working on it. They need donations. We'll be tapping your wallet shortly here. But it's so great, so many people supporting this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great effort.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, racism is bad. That doesn't seem like a bad thing to say, right? Well, the president of the Ohio Board of Education thought so too and tried to have the board make that their official stance. But it led to a controversial fight over this past year, a fight that she eventually lost.
Like so many others last summer, Laura Kohler watched the murder of George Floyd.
I began my own personal soul searching.
So as president of the Ohio Board of Education, she introduced a resolution condemning hate speech and violence.
We had noticed a gap between the performance of black and brown students and their white peers. And over almost 20 years that I've been watching the data, the gap never significantly changed.
After hours of debate at their July 2020 meeting, Resolution 20 passed with a 12-5 vote.
We recognized at the time we were rocking the boat a little bit.
Over the next year, Kohler says a significant amount of the public comment period at board meetings was spent rehashing the resolution.
It seeks nothing less than the overthrow of the American system.
I still, to this day, struggle to understand why anything that's included in this resolution could be considered controversial.
Kohler says the controversy peaked this October when a new board member introduced a new resolution, effectively getting rid of hers.
The governor had requested my resignation.
Was any reason given for that request or implied?
One word, politics.
Eric Pokler, another board member, received a similar phone call. We asked Governor DeWine why.
It was made clear to me by the Senate that they were not going to confirm them. I felt the best thing for the people of the state of Ohio was, frankly, to move on.
Both members resigned, and the board has elected a new president, the first black woman to lead the board, Charlotte McGuire. She voted to rescind Resolution 20.
We will continue to move forward with the ideal that every child under our jurisdiction will have the opportunity to succeed, regardless of race, creed, or color.
To deny these things is to be clearly headed in a direction that's bad for the state.
Rising violent crime numbers and a historic murder rate, an apt description of Columbus that also applies to Ohio's other major cities, Cleveland and Cincinnati. Both are about to undergo dramatic changes in leadership. As Colleen Marshall found out, their new incoming mayors promise voters will like what they see.
They were choosing the future of the city, not the past. They were choosing innovation and change versus the status quo.
I remember hosting meet and greets on Zoom with 10, 15, 20 people, and they just grew over time. And we showed up everywhere, backyards, front porches, goat farms, barbershops, salons. I was everywhere.
34-year-old Justin Bibb and Cincinnati's 39-year-old Aftab Puraval each had overwhelming victories on promises to tackle public safety and the tenuous relationship between police and the people they are sworn to protect.
Our campaign really believed that we can do both. We can have safe and secure neighborhoods, but also do the hard work of reimagining policing and public safety and rebuild trust between police and residents, because without trust, you don't get safety.
It's heartbreaking, the number of homicides, the number of gun violence shootings that we've seen here in Cincinnati. What is even more heartbreaking is that so many of the victims are children, and so many of the perpetrators themselves are children.
Puraval will be the first mayor of Asian descent in the Midwest.
My mom is from Tibet. She was forced to flee when the communists took over. She made her way through the Himalayas, through Nepal, and into India, where she grew up as a refugee.
Puraval says Cincinnati led the nation as a model of police reform, the first for a Citizens Review Commission. In Cleveland, Bibb wants to address the root causes of violence, including economic opportunity. He knows public safety from both sides. His late father was a Cleveland police officer.
My father would want to have a department that pays their officers a competitive salary and good benefits. My father would want to have a department that's fair, but also accountable to the residents. And my father would want to have a department that truly believes in the credo of protect and serve.
And starting in January, both first-time mayors will get the chance to innovate and lead.
I think we all choose our profession based on the best opportunity to lift up those around us. and this is my shot.
Columbus will also have a first on its city council next month when Lourdes Barrosa de Padilla will become the first Latina in that position. She told our Kenia Ramirez she was inspired by her parents' perseverance through difficulty, and now she'll help her community in a new way.
Ms. Lourdes Barrosa de Padilla.
For every kid who has amazing potential, but that feels like they have the odds against them, I am proof that you can be a kid from the east side and hustle real hard and get to this place.
At an early age, Lourdes Barrosa de Padilla learned the importance of seeking a better life for herself.
My parents came from Cuba, so, I think they came as political refugees.
She saw her parents work long hours with very little pay, all to make sure she and her sisters had food on the table, all while trying to learn English and follow the American dream.
A lot of times what your parents are working hard for is to provide the basic needs for you, and they want to push you, but they don't even understand all of the systems. So it's a lot of you having to really be in charge of your life and your future.
Together, they learned. At 17, these challenges are what motivated her to fight for her city and others going through similar struggles.
I remember taking college classes I went to Columbus State after my first year of city year, and it was so interesting sitting in these classes where people were talking about like books and theories, and I had very practical knowledge, right? When people would talk about communities and this is how a community works, and I'm like, that's not how a community works.
As council member-elect, she's aiming to help provide better resources and opportunities to immigrants and refugees in Columbus.
If we want to tackle generational poverty, if we want to tackle violence in the city, if we want to tackle, affordable housing, we need to look at the systems that create those situations. It took us generations to get here. It's going to take us generations to get out of here.
Dr. Mashika Roberts has served as Columbus's health commissioner since 2017. It is a job that comes with many challenges, but none bigger than the past 21 months helping guide the 15th largest city in the country through a pandemic.
It's definitely my passion. I mean, public health is my passion, and helping people, individuals, and our community be healthy and safe is something I feel strongly about personally and professionally.
Being a city health commissioner is already a challenging position, and doing it during a nearly 2-year-long pandemic that has divided our country in many ways just makes it that much harder.
I'm fortunate in my position that I get more thank you notes and thank you emails, and I get the quote-unquote unhappy or hate emails, but those are hard.
That's why Dr. Mashika Roberts keeps those emails away from her staff so they can focus on the work of keeping Columbus healthy and safe. So far, Columbus Public Health has vaccinated more than 210,000 people from the coronavirus, and every single shot matters.
As I was walking in the building this morning, a young man approached me. He was trying to get in the building. He was going through the wrong entrance. So I said, "Oh, you're here for the vaccine. You need to go around and park in the back and go in the back entrance." And he said, "No, I'm not here for the vaccine. I'm here for another service." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "Wait a minute, are you Dr. Mashika?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He's like, "I've seen you on TV." And I said, "Yeah, you have." And he said, "I will get the vaccine if you give it to me." I said, "We got a deal. I'll give you the vaccine. When you're done with your service, go to the front desk, let them know that Dr. Roberts is going to give you your vaccine, and I will make sure you get vaccinated, plus you're going to get the $100 Vax Cash card." I gave him his vaccine. Had I not had that encounter with him this morning, had I not been at the door when he was approaching the door, he might not have gotten the vaccine. I think that's a success story.
Still, there are those who choose not to get the shot, including many in the minority community. So there's more conversations to be had.
You know, I'm depending on you to help spread the message that we as a community have to get vaccinated. The faster more of us get vaccinated, the sooner we can all go back to life pre-pandemic that we all enjoyed, including myself, very, very much.
But until then, the work continues for Dr. Roberts. Difficult, but important work.
I do understand it's important. You cannot be something if you don't see it. And so to think that there are little brown girls and boys out there who see me and think I can do that one day, that really fills my heart with a lot of joy.
Another proof that representation matters, and that's so important to her. And you know, it just impacts her more because she knows there are members of the minority community that, you know, can't find access to the vaccine or just don't think, you know, they need it or don't have trust in the medical community. it's continue to push that effort and push that message out there. It is safe, it is necessary, and it can save lives, especially as we see the cases rise once again.
Yeah, we've heard her talk about that before. It was nice to hear her talk about that representation. And what I really like about this show is we've shown so many leaders in different facets and positions of color.
Yes.
And that is so important.
It matters.
Yeah.
Definitely. On a personal note, she's been so accessible to us and answering our questions, because none of us are doctors, and we're all learning when it comes to this pandemic. And so having her representation, that story about the young man getting the vaccine, that helped make that happen probably. Seeing her on the front lines and answer our questions and help us all learn about what we're all going through right now.
That is why she doesn't turn down an interview. She doesn't turn down anything, because she needs people to see her, hear her message, and then hopefully save some lives.
I haven't met her, but I always think she must be a nice lady. She's always talking.
Very much.
Well, more than 70 years after they were falsely accused of raping a white woman in Florida, the names of 4 black men have been cleared in what was one of the greatest miscarriages of justice during the Jim Crow era.
The men were known as the Groveland Four, and last month the judge dismissed the indictments of Ernest Thomas and Samuel Shepard, who were shot and killed by law enforcement, and set aside the convictions and sentences of Charles Greenlee and Walter Irvin. Their families say they hope the exonerations will spark a re-examination of other convictions of black men and women from the Jim Crow era. A few hundred miles north of there, family members did find justice for a man who was shot and killed while jogging through a Georgia neighborhood.
Travis McMichael, his father Gregory, and their neighbor William Roddy Bryant, all convicted of murder after they chased down Ahmad Aubry and shot him in Brunswick last year. As we leave you tonight, we wanted to give Aubry's family and supporters the final word.
The hunting and killing of Ahmad Aubry, it was not only morally wrong, but legally wrong.
To tell you the truth, I never saw this day back in 2020. I never thought this day would come. But God is good.
And when you present the truth to people and they can see it, they will do the right thing. And that's what this jury did today in getting justice for Ahmad Aubry.
And let the word go forth all over the world that a jury of 11 whites and 1 black in the deep South stood up in the courtroom and said that black lives do matter.